then sex or lovemaking becomes an explosive, wonderful thing to do.
Yeah.
All right? But anytime you sense communication is affected, stress factors are coming in, I'm not feeling you, you're not feeling me, then sex just becomes a duty and it's affected.
Welcome to the Best Kept Secrets podcast, where we share our best kept secrets about life, love, God, and everything in between. Hi guys, welcome to episode 8 of season 5 of the Best Kept Secrets podcast, where we share our best kept secrets on God, love, life, and everything in between. Yani, we're almost at the end of this season. I'm so grateful for you guys for being here, for rocking with me this entire season. I hope you've been enjoying it. Please give me feedback. Niambie, tell me how you guys have been liking it. So today I am joined by 2 guests that I honor so much, and the fact that they're here, I'm so grateful. One of them has been here before, so she's not a stranger to the pod, but I will let them introduce themselves and then we get into it.
Awesome. Hi. So happy to be back. My name is Julie Kariuki. Life Riddles podcast. I'll be married to this amazing gentleman who'll introduce himself later on. We've been married for 10 years. We have 3 beautiful boys and we're just enjoying life. Yeah.
Amazing. You're also a content creator.
I am a content creator. I am a content creator across all major platforms and I love it.
Yeah. Thank you, Julie.
My name is Pete Kariuki. I'm glad to be here, feeling a bit of pressure, having 2 powerful women on my left and on my right. But glad to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
So what do? I am currently I'm a pastor. I lead a church at the Waterfront Mall. I'm a leadership enthusiast. I run a leadership company or program called Inuka. I do operations for a group called the R Group. So that's professionally. But what I love most is being married to this Chile over here. Yeah, I love her so much. We have 3 boys, and we'll keep unpacking what that looks like. But God has been good to us.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice. But there, guys, Pastor Pete and Julie are my pastors. I go to their church. I love it so much. I love it so much. And I really looked for a church. Before I ended up at our South, nilikuwa nimetembea. I had gone to so many different churches.
Yeah.
So the first time I came to our South, I was like, yep, this is it. I didn't even need to be convinced. I was just like, yeah, this is it.
What was it?
There was like a sense of just like warmth that I really enjoyed. I came with my friends as well for the first time, and we still come together.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, when we did the the thing that we do before we start service, and we do the
Statement of belief.
And we hold our Bibles and we say everything. One of my friends was like, wow, this church is so affirming. I'm going to be coming back here.
That's so cool.
There's just like a safety, like a warmth, like a familiarity that exists. I think it's because it's not like super big, not like a super mega church where everyone is a stranger. Every single time I come back, like there's just like warm faces and smiles, and the ushers are nice, and so for sure I was just like, yep, I'm coming back.
That sounds so good, babe. I think our work is done. We can resign now. And I think we've done our part.
We just leave it to you guys.
Well, thank you. That means a lot.
God.
Thank you.
No,
Thank
you
so
honestly,
much.
it's such a lovely place. And even for my friends, especially who are skeptics, they were very like, I don't know. And for them to feel like safe on day one and to commit to coming back, for me I was like, yeah, for sure. Like we all are on the same page about this place being a nice place, a warm place, a safe place. So you guys are doing amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It means a lot.
So we're going to talk about, I think I had spoken to Julie about it. I want us to speak as deeply as we can about God's blueprint for marriage, for relationships, and for sex. Those are
Did she talk about
3.
that last one?
I didn't say the sex part. I said the marriage and the relationship part. So
we're ready.
The reason I want to speak about this is because the culture and society has a lot to say about those three things. And I just want people to know what God says about it. I think culture is very, very loud about how you should date and how you should marry and how your marriage should look like and sex and all of these things. But I want us to, where does God stand about all of these things? So maybe we can start by, like dating, like how should we even be dating and how did you guys do it?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Sharon. And there's usually a conversation that happens in that space around Christian dating, Christian men, Christian women. Is it exciting? Is it boring? What do you guys do for fun? Like there's plenty of questions that usually come up. But I always say, and this is a foundation or the place where we started, that when you're starting to think about settling down, then those are some serious decisions you have to make. And it's not a decision you make over a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. So you have to be deliberate or be careful about, can I pray about this process? We're people of faith, all right? There are many people in the world right now. Not everyone is for you, and you're not for everyone. Yeah. So if you're attempting to step into that space, to settle down, to look for someone, or you're ready to do it, I think the first place to start is to just ask God. I know it sounds like a cliche. It sounds like, please tell us other things, Pete. We've heard about that before. But I just want to emphasize the importance of it's a serious decision you're making. One of my mentors told me some time back, he said, Pete, you'll make two critical decisions in your life. One, who you decide to follow and who you decide to get married to. Like those two relationships can be a make or break for you. And followership here means, who's your mentor, who's your spiritual authority, who do you listen to, very critical. And then now lateral relationships, who do you get married to? So for us, it took time to get to that place. I must admit, I was leaning more on the over spiritual side of things. The first time I remember I told her, I didn't even tell I love her. Like it was so awkward, man.
What did you say?
So we had stayed a whole year in like a Bible school. This is just after high school. So a whole year of something like a Bible school program. So that's when we started noticing there's definitely something we are feeling. And there were girls and there were other boys, but there was just something we were feeling between us. But the culture of that ministry was, you are not allowed to date. They didn't allow. So it was something none of us spoke about, none of us even hinted. But there was definitely fireworks and bonfires. A lot of them.
A lot of it.
So one day I was at his house, his parents' house for lunch. And then he started talking about that feeling, that thing. And I remember him stood up, went to the wall unit and said, you see that key feeling you're saying? Yeah, we'll put it in this top shelf and we'll close it in there. We'll talk about this later in life.
The more she talks about it, the more...
What does that mean?
What was that?
What was I saying?
Because we cannot feel these things right now. We have to focus on going to uni. We have to focus on God, purpose and things like that. And of course I was like, yeah, for sure, But our introduction into this whole thing was a bit warped. It wasn't it wasn't correct.
Hide.
It was
keep
hide.
Off, don't express yourselves, which has also influenced a lot of how we dated and even eventually getting married.
We were chini ya maji. We hid a lot.
Anytime would see our pastors back then would scatter.
And there's nothing wrong we were doing. Literally, there was you can imagine how innocent we were. But even I remember even praying against that feeling. I was like, God, whatever this is, because it felt sinful. So because you said we become deep. So there's a time we had gone to Coast with the team for just to relax after our graduation. So on one of the rides, we were in a matatu. I happened to sit next to him. And I remember my arm touched his arm. Nandikasikia, I felt electricity. He did though as well. But I remember I repented. I felt so bad. I was like, what is that feeling? I
Yeah.
can never allow that feeling, you know. And the same for him. And I think we didn't even make eye contact from that time because it was so warped.
Yeah.
And over time now, I've come to realize that it's a thing that God gave us. It's a healthy feeling. It's a good thing
Yeah.
that you have that, you know. And it's not meant to be hid, but this time for it. That's why our leaders were not, they were sure it wasn't the season because we were really young. You imagine these guys are just from high school. Okay, we're in love, then what? We're not getting married next year. We're not getting married, you know. So they just knew the time for it to be opened, or it was, so the illustration Pete did was perfect. Feeling, let's put it in this shelf, let's close it in there. We'll come back to this later.
Yeah, and Sharon, now you see that's the place for proper followership.
Okay.
Or just proper foundation, because I don't think we were given good advice. I don't think the culture that was created around relationships were healthy for us.
Okay.
All right. So I think one of the first things you need to establish is, am I in a healthy culture, and how does this culture view dating, relationships, marriage, singlehood, and all those things? Because as much as our leaders were amazing, I think they were deficient on the area of relationships. And so our starting was warped. We were limping, we were hiding. And so if anyone is thinking about getting into this, you're a person of faith, or you want to attempt to try it this way, foundation matters, culture matters, and what you're hearing really matters. Because now looking back, I'm like, what was that?
Yeah.
I was like, that was crazy. That was unnecessary. Now I know. And so when I'm talking to people, I'm like, I understand. It's okay. What you're feeling is normal. If you are not feeling it, then there's a problem with you.
Yeah.
You get. So what you're feeling is normal, and it's like fire. If you light a fire, if the fire is contained, it's productive. If the fire is not contained, it can burn you down. So how do you make sure the fire is nurtured at the different stages, in terms of intensity, in terms of making sure it doesn't die off, in terms of now there's a place where it gets to where the fire needs to consume the entire house and burn. Like both of you now need to burn, but you can't burn on day one.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the place now of proper mentorship, proper advice, proper someone just guiding you across those murky waters.
Yeah.
So what you expose yourself to around that season really determines even the strength of your relationship.
Correct.
Yeah. So I thank God that somehow along the journey of life you were able to figure out this is not the right path. This is not how it should be. And then you were able to rectify that. But it took a lot of now people coming in and now telling us this is normal what you're feeling, but there's a time for it. Right now, if you could focus on your studies, because you are really young, if you could focus on this and that, and then we'll revisit as time goes. But really it's important. And I'm seeing a lot of people, even with the younger generation, the guys coming after us, I'm a millennial, but now the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas, I'm seeing them being so expressive, even as early as 8 years old. My 3-year-old has told me he has a girlfriend in the estate. And you see now, me the first thing I want to do is like, Ade, who is that?
Like, do you have a job?
Can you pay any bills? But now I want to talk about it. I'm like, what's her name? Where does she stay? Able to tell me her house number? And I want to entertain that conversation. And I think that's the right thing to do. So us as we raise our kids right now, we need to do that. Or someone who's maybe my age and is not yet maybe in a relationship, be around people who encourage you to say, I have a crush on Nani, and then they're able to tell you, stay away from that one. You can pursue that one. Or I'm really liking this guy, or I'm liking a married person, and now they're able to tell you, please don't go that route. I think let's encourage people just
Dialogue.
Dialogue. Let's just be
conversations,
very open to that and seek that. If you're that person who's looking for a relationship, seek to be around people who want to hear you out.
Yeah. I completely agree. Even when you were giving the story about your son. Growing up, I grew up in an environment where I wasn't allowed to talk to boys. And having a boyfriend was like, oh my God, how dare you? And I think it's a very African parent thing to do. Because now that I'm of age, apparently, to marry, my parents are like, okay, so when are you bringing for us a man? I'm like, the man you told me not to
you
talk
undid it
to.
for 25 years.
Yeah, you told me not to talk to men. Now
Those
you
have
want
been
me.
the guys marrying me.
Yeah, now I would be married. But you said no talking
See
to
my
men.
life.
So what am I supposed to do? Like
Yeah.
no one sat me down and told me this is how you handle feelings when you have feelings for a boy.
Yeah.
This is what is healthy. This is what is not. This is what to do. This is like no one told me anything. Me and my friends, we were just trying to figure it out together. And of course, we're all teenagers. We're all in our early 20s. We're all confused. So we're just the blind leading the blind. And we're just going by, no, I don't, my friend's relationship is not like that. So mine shouldn't be like that. There was no even that safety for going to my mom or my dad to be like, I like this person. What do I do? I would want to also still in that same light give my mom props, because at some point when I was a little older, like in my maybe mid-20s, she was a lot more open about talking about, she knew every boyfriend I had, and she would tell me, no, I don't think that's a good one. Like she knew, her disapproval was very loud. When she disapproved, I remember so clearly, there's a Meru man I dated.
Sorry,
and my mom
guys
is
from
Meru.
Morume.
My mom is Meru,
Yeah.
and she doesn't like Meru men. She just has, it's her own whatever.
Yeah.
And she didn't like the fact that he was Meru and he had all these other things. And I remember I was in a matatu coming from school, and she texted me and she was like, I'm on my knees, I'm praying for God to scatter that relationship. And I'm like, but I like him. You know what I mean?
He's a nice man.
He wasn't nice. So she had probably
seen
some things, even despite him being Meru. I don't think Meru men have any issue. Despite that, there's definitely some things she had seen. But the point I'm trying to make is what you're saying is that even as parents, as older generation people, like, you need to be able to create a healthy environment for your children to come and speak to you about those things. Especially, I feel like, especially with mothers, they see things in partners that we usually don't see.
For sure.
So many like people that my mom has warned me about, or men I've dated, that she's been like, I don't have a good feeling about that one. Most likely she's usually mostly right about them.
For sure. And then as mothers, we've been praying for you since you're inside our tummies. And even now I'm praying for my kids' wives. I have 3 boys. I have called this lady, even my eldest son says, my wife will be called Angel. Angel wherever you are. So I have started this whole thing. So by the time, God willing, he's 23, whatever, when he'll be ready, 25, whatever, when he'll be ready to marry, because I've already started this journey with God, I'll be able to just look, I'll sniff it from Uko. I'll be like, no, Baba, don't waste your time with this one. But another thing we need to be careful about, not as people who are maybe married or mentoring other people, like us not being church leaders, us being people with social influence, is not to project our traumas. So you see, when mom was telling you about Meru men,
was a projection of her trauma.
It was, So I remember growing up, my big sister, I love you so much, if you see this. But I remember her telling me so many times, please never marry a handsome man. Please stay away from handsome men. Tafuta kimutu. Look for aki face.
Look for kienyeji.
Look for somebody who is personal. Like... And she would hammer that on me every time. She's like, never look for a man who looks even a hint of good. Look for somebody, even you're like, this one will never go anywhere. Yeah. And then now this man started pursuing me, and I'm like, Pete even looks at him. You have to remember
what your sister said.
Hey, where will I hide this man now? But then I realized at that time it's because she had gone through some trauma. She had dated a really handsome man something happened. So she was projecting her trauma. And you see, now she would have changed. I would have left this guy because of my sisters, But now you see, we've been together now 17 years by the grace of God. You get. So sometimes you can do that. And for me, I found myself telling people, please don't start dating young. Don't like anybody when you're still like 20, 19. But then that was because of my trauma. Because we meant to, really young, our dating life for so long. So we have to be really careful about that everyone's story is so unique. Everyone's story is so different. It doesn't have to be like your sisters. It doesn't have to be like your BFFs. God just makes it in such a unique way that, there are guys, I know of a couple who met in a mat. By the time they were getting to Embu, from Nairobi to Embu, those guys were sure they're meant for each other. And now they've been married 15 years. There are people like me, we met in high school. We were together. Yani, it took so long, but we're still together and you're okay. So everyone's journey is so different. So let's not be quick to dismiss. No. Hey, mko high school. No, forget it. Mko campo. No, wait. No. Everyone's journey is so different and you need not to be supportive and show them the way. Avoid this, avoid that. Take this route. Take it slowly, and sometimes outrightly just stay away from this one. Kabisa. Yeah.
And I completely agree. And to add on to that, I think one of the mistakes you can do is to leave off of people's opinions.
Yeah.
So if you're in a place where your dating life, your plan for getting married is being powered by people's opinions, that's like a dangerous place to be at.
Dangerous.
Yeah, like that's the lowest form of, I think, in the classification of knowledge, the lowest form of knowledge, truth, is opinion. Opinion is, so this is what I think about this matter, and I feel like sometimes people tend to, there's some people who live there. All right, like you want to hear from everyone's opinion on how love ought to be, how men ought to be, how women ought to be, and it's opinion. All right, I think it's a very dangerous place to be at, where you're living off of people's me I think you should, me I think you should. So that's like the lowest level. Then you have now facts. Facts are facts, and facts are okay. So the rate of divorce in the country is at this. It's a fact. There's data to back that up. But now there's another level called truth. All right, for people of faith watching, even if you're not, it's okay. Move away from opinions, facts, to now what's the truth? Can truth guide you? Can truth now be the plumb line? And truth here is, what does the Bible say about this matter? You'll discover people are wrong, and they don't even know they're wrong. You're like, you're so wrong, you don't even realize it. So you can't. It's such an important decision to be left to opinions. Yeah, where who you're spending time with, your emotions with, your heart with, you've opened your life to, is done on the basis of opinion. So I think we need to expose ourselves to environments, spaces, people who have some semblance of truth. Even them, this one, from where they're speaking from a position of truth, and they have a track record of following the same truth, and you're able to say, okay, I hear you, or this is what I believe, and I've seen, and God has spoken to me. I love what you normally say, you have dreams and God speaks to you and you get revelation. Well done. Like that's it. But anyone on opinion, manze, you'll be heartbroken, you'll feel wasted, you'll feel like people are taking advantage of you, because you're just dealing with people's opinions.
And we're in just the most interesting age, because everyone has an opinion now.
Yeah.
Everyone has a podcast, everyone has a platform, everyone is saying
everyone
things,
can say anything about
and
anything.
we are believing everything, we are consuming everything. Let me tell you, by the time you're done, you are so confused. You are so confused. There are so many things being pushed which should not even be anywhere near somebody's ears, but we are consuming that, we are believing that, we are practicing that in our own lives. And now we go back to the blueprint, which is scripture. That's what God gave us to guide us. Everything should be matched against that. Everything. Dating, courting, marriage, everything. But now Nani's influencing us. Nani so-and-so's relationship, these guys. But Julie and Pete don't do this. I see Julie and Pete doing this with their kids.
I love that you've brought up the blueprint story, because I really want us to get into that. Like, what is God's blueprint on dating and courtship? Is dating even a biblical concept? Is courtship a biblical concept? What does God say about all of that?
So there's some of those elements which are explicitly explained in the Bible. Like marriage is explicit.
Yes.
The Bible is not silent about how couples ought to live. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for it. Wives, so the Bible is very clear and very open, and it's not silent about those matters. Courtship, the same. So there's some elements of courtship where you find a Joseph and Mary, they were courting. You find an Isaac and Rebecca, they were courting, then they got married. Now the one that is very confusing is now dating.
Yeah.
That's where you're like, give me one verse, give me two verses, where I can find myself. And I feel that's sometimes a place where people get lost. But there's what you call prevailing wisdom or truth or wisdom for relationships. Yeah. One of them, if you're dating, there are a couple of questions that you need to ask yourself. One, and this is something we call, and this is just even looking at our lives when we're dating. One is, there's a verse that says two are better than one. Okay? So, there's a place where if two of you have decided to do something, the two of you coming together on that has to be better than if you did it individually. Okay? So, people have asked us, so how did you know Julie was the one? Julie, how did you know Pete was the one?
Yeah.
There are many other. There were.
Yeah.
There were. Yeah, I know there were. People reaching out, DMing and everything. I think you're the one. I've been dreaming with you. I saw you in a gown. Like you're the one.
What?
That's okay. But a question you need to ask yourself is, what's my conversion rate when you're dating? What's the rate at which you're becoming better and godlier when you're with this person? That's a simple litmus test to say, am I shrinking myself to be in this relationship, or am I becoming better because of this relationship? That's a yes or no answer, by the way. And you can be able to say.
And you can answer it yourself.
And you don't need
to call your girlfriends.
Yeah, you don't need to call
sisters.
anyone, by the way.
Yeah.
That's just a self-test kit that we're giving you. Just test yourself.
I've known this guy for 1 month.
I've known this guy for 1 month.
How many times have I compromised? How many times have I had to bend backwards? How many times have I had to? Yeah.
How many times has he lied? How many times
Yeah.
have we deviated? How many times?
Yeah.
And that's just 1 month. 50 years together? Compound it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So God gives us opportunities when we're relating with people for them to show their true selves and for us to show our true selves. And one of the things you can ask is, what's my conversion rate? At what rate am I a person of faith? Am I becoming more purposeful, more godly, more driven, more hopeful, more prayerful? If all those indices are being reduced, don't even come for a prayer meeting. Just make a decision.
Yeah.
Just decide. Just say, you know what?
It's over.
I don't think this is working because I'm losing myself in this. All right? And be bold about it, be open about it, and say, you know what? I don't think this is working for me. Because if that's dating, trust me now, courtship will be intensified. Now marriage will be compounded. Yeah. So that's that's on. These are just tips now for people who are trying to dating, and they're asking, I've been with this guy for a year, I've been with this lady for a year, it's been 6 months, I don't know if he is the one or she's the one. Look at your conversion rate. That's a clear example to know if they are the one for you. Yeah.
And that can happen at any level. Like you're dating when you're 20 or 19.
Yeah.
Just since I started hooking up or just hanging out with this guy, what has been the influence in my life? Even as a guy, what has been the influence this girl has brought in my life? For us, as young as we were, it was just that thing for purpose. I remember asking Pete, what's your plan? As a 19, 18-year-old. And he just looked at me like, we've just finished high school right now. Like, why are you asking me such things? But I just needed to know what is the plan. And I remember he wanted to become a pilot. So I would help him do the letters to apply for this pilot school, flying school. I would help him do that. He would help me look for universities in the States because I wanted to go to the US. We were helping each other. No, another person now, maybe it would have been the opposite. He would maybe just say, we just finished high school, let's just chill. Come to my house, let's just watch movies every day. But we knew where we wanted to go. We were helping each other. The conversion rate was there. How godly are you becoming? You're telling me maybe you're struggling with something. Perhaps maybe someone mentions, I'm struggling with pornography. And then I join you in watching it. We are watching together a really, dirty film or an adult movie. You're not helping each other. This other person should be able to pull you out or at least try. So it has to happen. The conversion has to happen. It should actually even be a red flag if, again, nothing is happening. There's no even conversion. Of course, maybe you're not going backwards, but you're just like flat.
It's just flatlining, yeah.
That's also a red flag. You should be better. If you're planning to do life with this person for the rest of your lives, you should become better.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I feel like, by the me, I'm just learning. I'm here to learn. I don't
We are
know.
learning from you too.
Me, I'm not married. I don't know. But I have some experience in dating. But even as you're speaking, I'm thinking about my past relationships. And I feel like they made me better in other areas, but not in the God area. So they were probably ambitious men. So they pushed me to be more ambitious, to chase after my dreams, to go after the things that I want. They made me a better person in those areas, but I had to dumb down my God stuff because they were not into it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I feel like maybe there's someone who has this dilemma for, okay, he makes me a better person, or she makes me a better person in this area, but in this area of God, I'm kind of doing this alone, or I kind of have to make consistent compromises.
Yeah, that's so critical, because now that's now the second thing you can use to check now. So if your conversion rate is high on other things, then the second question is usually, are they speaking God's language? Yeah, that's now the second. Now, if you want to go deeper, you just ask, are they speaking God's language? And God's language here looks something like this. Are they mentioning the things that God has been telling me? All right.
Hey, that's deep, babe. Okay, all right. I've
Are
never even
you-
heard of that.
Are you able to pick out from their voice and from their leading or from their direction a similarity between what they're telling you and what God has been impressing in your heart?
Okay.
Yeah. So one, like you said, conversion is okay. They make you more ambitious, and that's fine. And there are guys who are like that, and ladies who are like that. Make more money, crush your goals, dress,
a
go to the
certain
gym,
way.
do what you need to do. Fantastic. But because you're a person of faith, the next litmus test is, are they speaking God's language? And God's language here is synchrony between what they're saying, doing, and what you feel God is saying and doing to you. Yeah. And if there's a mismatch, prolonged mismatch, then you're like, okay, I don't think I need to
Or at
continue
least
with this
calling
one.
forth
Yeah, or
things of God in you.
because again,
Yeah.
this is a small example of how 20-25 years will look like. Yeah. So before you say I do, before you walk down that aisle, before you give your life to someone and decide you're doing it together, you need to, they do stress testing for different things, even buildings. Is it able to handle
To
withstand pressure, rain, wind,
elements.
so don't just say the house looks beautiful. Anyone can build a beautiful house, but can it withstand the wind, the rain, the scorching heat? And that's the place now. The second part is to say, I'm trying to hear God through what you're telling me, but I can't. I'm trying to trace God in your life or in what you're saying, but I can't. On everything else, manze, you're just you've hit the jackpot. But I'm trying to trace God in you. So like for me, with my wife, I remember I was in a season where I had people who kept telling me, Pete, you're such a gentleman, you're such, you're very good at this, and I know there are things God was telling me in that season, and that was not it. Then I meet Julie, and as we are dating, she starts picking on the same things God is picking in my life. And I'm like, Connie, you guys are having secret meetings about me, like, are you, like, what's going on? Because when I hear her, I hear God. When I hear God, I hear her, And those were some of the things that now brought me to a place I was like, I want this for the rest of my life. Because now I know your voice, you will never lose that voice. That sounds like God. That sounds like, a tugging in my heart, and it looks like, sounds like, and I love it, and I'm safe in that place.
And now that is mentioned that, and remember, 19, 20-year-olds, but how do you get, so that's a question I've gotten a lot of time. Julie, how did you become that woman at that age? It's because of spending so much time with God and also getting to have such a strong relationship, personal relationship with God, that of course, he would talk to me concerning some things. He was working on me so hard. And now when this guy is coming into my life, God started showing me some things about him that he was struggling. And, even sometimes it felt like word of knowledge, And I believe it's accessible to us, especially the Christian girl is listening to this. These things are accessible to us. God can give us. God can show us some things this person is hiding, or this person is struggling with. Now this person wants to marry you. Even sometimes they don't even know, because maybe it's about their family, their lineage, or a childhood thing that happened. God can start showing you these things, and you'll be able to pick it up and say, "But tell me what's this about your parents? What was this that you guys started so well, but now maybe they're in poverty? What was that? What was the mistake that happened along the line?" I feel like these things are accessible, but it takes time, of course. But so this is what I tell people every time someone is telling me, "Julie, no one is looking my direction. Oh my God, nobody wants me. Okay, nobody's." The people just talk sometimes because of just frustration in this Nairobi scene, and I'm sure it's all over. Build yourself. Build yourself in the place of prayer. Build yourself in the place of character, in the place of skills. Build yourself. Work on yourself.
Yeah.
Trust me, atakuja. That person will come. But now if you're so focused on hunting and gathering, you will hunt and gather the wrong one. Just stay in a place where you are working on you. That's where when someone comes, yesterday we were watching another movie. I won't tell you the name of the movie because it's a bit name.
It's not a good one.
But we watched it. Imagine sometimes you just watch it to just know what's happening in the scenes of this life. Anyway, so this girl, all she kept doing was just shrinking to accommodate this person's behavior. I'm like, what's wrong with this woman? She doesn't know who she is. She doesn't know what she carries. She doesn't know, and those things come with taking time to be mentored, to be in the place of prayer, to work on yourself, to work on your skills, go to school, learn things, learn how to do makeup, learn how to dress, learn how to value yourself so much. By the time this person is coming, you're so strong. You'll sniff it out. By the time they walk in and they're just like, "So you come over to my house," you'll be like, I don't. I have my own place. Why am I coming to your house? And again, I'm speaking to the people who are in the Christian faith who follow the scriptures. Why am I coming to hang out at your place? Let's go to this other place, things like that. There are guys who start dating you and they're telling you now to start dressing a certain way because it's their vibe. They want you to show a lot of things that you're probably not comfortable showing. If you know yourself, you'll be like, "Bruh, I don't do those things,"
Yeah.
So know yourself.
Yeah, I completely agree. I feel like I've had that repeated so many times. Like every time I watch like any videos or any podcasts about dating and marriage, like Christian and in the Christian scene and all of that, everyone keeps saying like just work on yourself, focus on yourself, focus on God, He'll come. I used to hate hearing that so much. I'm just like, you're married and you're happy you don't know the struggle of being single. And if you've been single for 2, 3, 5 years, you don't know the struggle. But now that I'm single, and I haven't been single for long, so maybe granted, I'm speaking from like still a happy-go-lucky place. But I think for the first time, and I've shared this in multiple episodes, for the first time in my life, I'm actually content being single. I'm even asking God, don't bring him yet. Like, just let me just enjoy this season. Let me just focus on you, focus on my work, focus on my family, focus on all of these other things. That hunger and desire for like wanting, like desperately wanting marriage, desperately wanting a person is not there. And I really struggled with idolizing marriage for such a long time. And I feel like God has really worked on that area. But all that to say, like the desire is fine. Like marriage is a good thing. Children are great. Like it's a healthy desire to want. But also I think what Julie, just to add to what you're saying, I think there's a beauty in being where your feet are and being planted where your feet are. And in this moment that you don't have children and you're not married, be in that season, be content there, focus on you, do you, like do everything that you're saying, just focus on bettering yourself, knowing yourself, so that even when the person comes, like Julie is saying, you know what you like, you know what you don't like, you know this is, I don't compromise about this, I'm okay with this, and all of those things. So I think also maybe, and people keep saying the church is guilty of putting pressure on women especially, and not men as much on finding spouses and getting married. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I do agree.
Yeah, for sure.
There's some bit of pressure that comes, and sometimes, based on again what church it is. I think I've fallen guilty to that also sometimes,
You
putting
put pressure.
But
Is it when you're talking to men or mostly women?
for me, the pressure I give mostly is, to me, the pressure is to the man.
Okay.
Yeah. Having been with a woman for 17 years now, married for 10, 3 kids later, I'm like, guys, we have work to do. Like there's a lot we need to do. Forget about the woman. I think their work is cut out. Guys, we have a lot of work to do in loving, in appreciating, in presence, in providing. Like there's a lot that we don't talk about, and unfortunately, like if you go to any typical church right now, and there's a prayer. If you're single and you want to get married, please lift up your hand.
It's mamas.
It's women, Jamas are like, I don't care, like it's
I'm good.
I'm good. Like I don't care. I'm not sick, I've seen singles meetings organized across the city, and you find 95% women attending. 5% they're no Jamas. You're like, when it was a single.
Who are
girls,
we supposed to marry then?
They are there, but I don't know why
Is
they're
it
hiding.
like if it's just 95% women coming, then and the men are not interested, who are we supposed to marry?
So they're not showing up. They're not coming to such
there.
forums, and it's also because of how probably the meeting has been set up or structured and all.
Yeah.
But if I was to spend time with my brothers, I'd say the work here is a lot. Don't think that you will get someone's daughter, propose to them, get married to them, and live happily. You will live happily ever after, but you will work. So it's work. So I discourage laziness as much as possible. And I always tell men, I say, guys, if you're a lazy guy, relationships are not for you.
Do not even attempt.
Like, don't even try.
Yeah.
If you're lazy, your work is just to sit on a couch and just enjoy video games and TV and Netflix
internet.
and all, and go get your drinks. Leave
like
people's daughters alone. Leave them alone. Don't even attempt to ask anyone out. Because this thing is hard work. You'll bend backwards. You won't believe it.
Yeah.
You will. The blueprint here is that the man is called to ridiculous levels of love and sacrifice. If you're not ready for those two, just honorably check out. Go grow yourself, and say, Nyewe, I'm not okay in this area. I need a bit more growth. I need a bit more time on this matter, and then come back, and come back and do it. Yeah. So for me, I feel like and even looking at my wife, and sometimes it feels like in our dating marriage, to be honest, it always feels like my wife is 10 steps ahead of me. Yeah. In parenting, in love, in nurturing, in friendship, I'm like, it's like you are born for this, May I have to learn the ropes over and over, and yet I've done my time in growing, in reading books and listening to podcasts, but weighed against my wife, I feel like there's still a lot she knows that comes naturally to her that doesn't come naturally to me, and so for me, I feel like the bigger work. This is just Pete. Please don't go and say, this is now doctrine and everything. No, this is just me and observation. Men, we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, that one, continue telling them. That is healthy pressure. Continue pressuring them and telling them.
Because women are the ones who are given pressure.
Exactly. At Rora shows, at weddings, it's always speaking
it's
to the woman. As a wife, you should do this.
Yeah.
As a wife, you should do that. Like, where is the space for telling men? As husbands, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
And then, like you're saying, a lot of men are just lazy when it comes to marriages and relationships, and they expect women to carry the burden and the weight of it all. So you'll just continue.
No, we'll have to continue telling them, because the thing about this thing is you you have to constantly yani, it's like soft, you know, the way iPhone receives this download update every time. You're like, I just updated last week, you update again today. You know, like, keep updating stuff, keep updating the software, keep learning, keep growing, keep asking questions. I remember one time, I think I shared this in church the other day. I did, I think last Sunday,
two Sundays ago.
Two Sundays ago. You know, we got to a place, we were married, and then my wife comes and tells me, I think you've lost a spark. I'm like, which spark? I'm like, where are sparks found? You know, like, how do you find it and lose it? She's like, there's something you've lost. And I had to go back and ask myself, where did I lose it? Have I become arrogant? Have I become, you know, bossy? Have I become detached? Have I become disengaged? Am I too busy? You know? So it's an active, ongoing process of wanting to become better and better and better.
And avoiding defense too much. Because now Pete would have told me, what have you lacked in this house? Why would you tell me I've lost some spark? What have you asked for you've not gotten? You know? Yeah. But it's just hearing me out and telling me, because at that time, I think I was referring to just the intellectual stimulation, because that's what attracted me to Pete.
Yeah.
I loved our conversation. I still do to this day. Even last night, after that movie you watched, I wanted a conversation. Let's talk about American politics. It makes me feel so good. So, I mean, this situation now, because life was happening, I think we were still having children, things were just happening so much, and then suddenly this thing has disappeared. We don't have time for conversations, or if it's conversations, it's diapers and unga and bread, you know. And I told him there's something that's gone, you know, and he had to go dig deep, and also me. And then now we came together and we were like, yeah, conversation means so much to us. We'll be taking a walk from here till there. Let's talk about everything else apart from our children. And that now made me start feeling so excited, because I love when you talk intelligent conversations. Yeah. So men should stop always excuses. I never saw my dad do that. I never saw so and so do that. I'm a man. I provide. What do you need? No. Even those small things that they're not small, but whatever it is this person wants from you, be a man enough to be like, okay, yeah, I can work on that. I can attempt. I can try. I can work on that. You know. Yeah.
I think I love that, because I think part of dating and marriage is unlearning a lot of your childhood dynamics and traumas. And I think a lot of us are using that as the blueprint. Like, what did I see my dad doing? What did I see my mom doing? And especially, I feel like especially men, they come in saying that, oh, my mom used to do this in the home, or my mom treated my dad like this, so I expect you to serve me all my meals and wash me and bathe me and do everything for me.
Tell us about it.
So maybe I married such a man, so yeah. At the start of our relationship.
Did you?
Yeah. He used to come and put his feet up and wait for me to come, and I used to hate it, let me tell you.
So how did you unlearn that?
You know, this thing, you
still unlearning.
There's no end to it.
Okay.
Because on one, you finish one class and then you're told, hey, there's another class waiting for you, you know. Because so I came again, we were young, came into marriage, and the template I have is, you know, chill out.
Yeah. She'll wash your hands from where you're seated. She'll bring your food.
She'll take care of you.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you.
My dad washes his hands over there, as in, and then
so we both have different templates. And then how she was in the States, we
so
did
men
long
do
distance.
everything. They do laundry, they do dishes. So I'm like, what is this? And then I'd not seen that in our dating life, because we didn't cohabit or anything. It was drama, a lot of it.
Yeah, but we're getting better at it.
We are, for sure. 10 years later, that's why we're still together. Like, it's just things for even me. I had to unlearn that acts of service means a lot to my husband.
Okay.
Does it break my back? And I know I was trending on TikTok because of just this conversation I'm having. Yeah, negative. Somebody was saying I'm asking women to be slaves, and it's not what I'm saying. I am saying, learn your person. They have needs. There's something that maybe to them it means so much. You ask yourself those few questions, like, as in, will this literally break my back? Like, you know, maybe so for in an instance, P just wants me to serve the food for him, right? We've had this conversation for 3, 4, 5 years. Please, Julie, pick a side, pick a battle. I'll go serve the food, bring it, and we'll have a nice evening. Because my attitude is I've worked on it.
Yeah.
So I'm not serving him with an attitude. And he's also not doing that because he's the boss. It's just him. Like, he's not telling me to serve him because he thinks I'm lower.
Yeah, or he's better than you.
No, it's just, I will maybe explain that thing because I don't think I'm explaining it nicely.
No, you're explaining it very well.
Yeah, because I there was a bunch of women who are really bashing me because of saying that. And I was just like, I think people, there's a truth you get to know as you do life, as you grow. And there are things will just be like, you know what, this one I'll let it slide.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, no, I don't serve him. I can't remember the last time I served you, unless, okay, I did, I think the other day. But it's usually nikijisikia, but it's not a command. It's not, no, I do it because I love this guy so much. I've seen he's tired. He's just maybe sitting there and I'm like, baby, fix your dinner, And he's like, sir, thanks. But most times, Pete will go warm the food himself.
Yeah.
He'll serve himself.
Yeah, and I think the bottom line is, if I'm to move back a bit, is both individuals, and this is our hope and prayer, can learn how to make quality decisions
about their home.
If you start training yourself to be making quality decisions in life, not even just about home. There's home, but even in life, you're conditioning yourself that even when you get to a relationship and marriage, you will be making quality decisions. Yeah. The problem sometimes is if you've not built the muscle for making quality decisions, that if you're left to yourself, you will self-destruct. That's dangerous. You need to, as an individual, be in a place where you can make quality decisions about self-awareness, blind spots, that you know them, and then you're putting the proper and necessary measures to be able to become a better individual. Now, if you can do that as a man, she does it as a woman, by the time you're getting to this space, you're so used to making quality decisions that serving food is like bottom of the pyramid. Because you're used to, quality decision making, whether it's business work, moves, projects, quality decision making, relationships with friends, relationship with family. You're tuning yourself to make better and quality decisions. If you do that, then you're setting yourself up for a successful relationship in the future.
No, I completely agree. I feel like there's this like feminism, and I don't Actually, I don't have a problem with feminists, and I am all for equality. I'm all for women getting their rights and being able to go to school and to vote and to do all of those things that they should be able to do. And especially even in today's, like, whatever is happening with all the cases of women being killed and all of those things, there's definitely like space and room for feminism even in God, right? But I feel like there's also like this wave of, me, I can't do that for a man, or a man can't do that, and I shouldn't do this and I shouldn't do that. Like, there's a lot of do's and don'ts, and you shouldn't be doing that as a woman, and you should be doing this as a woman. And something my therapist keeps telling me is, who told you? Like, who created that should for you? Where did it come from? Question it. Question that should. Because when I say, oh, as a woman, I should do this, where has that should come from? Or as a man, you should do this, where has that come from? Question it. Find the essence of where you internalized this belief, and if it's a healthy belief that you should be carrying forward. So I don't know. I feel like that one is definitely a tricky one for sure. And like you're saying, I feel like when you are actually running a home, and there's marriage and there's work and there's so many other things, like you're saying, serving food is just, it's just a,
honestly, like we are running a church, we are buying property, we are like, the decision level is so high. He's running a whole Rema feast.
Decision level is so high. It can't be that in your relationship you're just making work decisions. Like, let's just be honest about it. You can't be making power moves out here, and at home food
becomes the issue.
becomes an
Honestly,
issue.
you, even me, I think you serve me more than I serve you.
Yeah,
Like,
as in
it's
just live life. You know, live life, enjoy
you're in the
yourselves.
side for the kitchen. Fix me a cup of tea. Like,
Yeah.
Go do it.
Me
If you
and
don't
say,
want to, you
you
just
know, if
say,
it-
I'm
yeah.
not in the mood to do it.
Nimechoka pia
Yeah,
mimi.
just, you know, so just condition yourself to be making quality decisions in life. I've met people, my heart breaks because they are single, alone, but they don't know how to make quality decisions. They don't. You can almost predict the next person they're dating. This is the wrong person. You can predict the next business deal they're starting or the next contract they're signing. They've not done their DD, you know. So you're like, how is it that there's a successive line, a trail of not so good decisions that you're making? So I've started to appreciate the place of you as an individual. Start making quality decisions
It's a
for
muscle.
yourself.
It's a muscle. And
Yeah.
the more you exercise it, it will be easier.
Yeah.
Even now when you settle into marriage, when you settle into parenting. But let me tell you, Sharon, the amount of pressure we get. So for us now already who are now even in the school fees scene, looking for schools, teachers, there's so much decision making that has to happen. There's so much, we are having to think about so many things at such a high level. I'm not gonna reduce myself to this whole movement of women don't go to the kitchen anymore. Like, I won't do that, you know. I feel like I'm way, way above that.
Yeah.
And this is where we go back to the blueprint. The word of God. The word of God doesn't tell me to serve my food, but it tells me to honor my husband, to respect my husband. And respecting doesn't mean that Peter tells me, fanya hivi, I do this, I do. It's just because of how much I adore him, how much I revere. Like, you know, what is that need you have, my husband? You know, and it's not just that. Like, the other day I was like, you know what, babe, I think you need some new suits. Bill is on me. You know, there's a place you fika as a woman, you get there, and it's not, I don't even know what I'm saying, but I'm just trying to tell these people who sometimes have an issue with women who do things for their men, go back to the blueprint. If you're a believer, go back to the blueprint of God. When you understand scripture and you understand how the Holy Spirit works, when you understand love, yeah, this thing will be a breeze.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Mm.
So as we are kind of closing off,
Yes.
we've talked about marriage, we've talked about dating. I want us to talk about sex.
Yeah.
We don't talk about sex openly enough, especially like in the Christian setting, and a lot of people, like, they're just going with the flow. They're just doing what they think is best. And yeah, what is the blueprint of God when it comes to sex?
So the blueprint there is there has to be mutual what do you call it, agreement on the matter. All right. So both of you, as you navigate through this, by the way, it's a beautiful thing, and as you navigate through it, the first place is mutual agreement on the subject. Okay, because again, remember where we came from. We came from a place where in the space we were, culture, dating was not right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in Christian circles, we've been telling you sex is sin throughout.
Yeah.
Then one day, Pete says, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Okay. And your mind has to move from looking at that thing as sin to now looking at it as a blessing. Do you know the struggle that happens there? Where guys are like, are we sinning? Is this sin? Should we not? What is right? What are the boundaries? How far is too far? You know, like, what is what? Should we do this? Should we? Let me tell you the what do you call it? The taboo, the silence in that space is quite loud, you know. And some people have had to go in and figure things out for themselves because they don't know what to do, you know. Again, resources and articles online are not the best. You try Google one thing, it takes you to some pages. You're like, oh my God, this is not what I was looking for, you know. So what do we do? I think we have to talk about them openly, all right? And for me, the first place is just mutual submission and honor from a husband to a wife.
Because marriage is, sex is meant for marriage in the confines of a marital covenant. That's in the Bible.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's
So every other thing outside of that is not following the blueprint.
Yeah.
And the blueprint here is scripture.
Yeah. So the again, remember the fire I was talking about, that the same thing can consume, but the same thing can nurture and build. Okay. The same thing can produce such a wonderful blessing of children. The same thing can produce sicknesses and diseases and death. All right. So you again decide which side you want to swing on. All right. But let's come to marriage now. Husband and wife got married. One, sex is not an isolated event. All right. It's part of many things. It's part of how you communicate. It's part of how you appreciate each other. It's part of how you live at home with each other.
Yeah.
It's part of how you set boundaries with people. So we don't take it as an isolated event. All right. So it's a part of our life. And so to the degree to which our communication is good, our levels of agreement are good, our joy, our happiness, then sex or lovemaking becomes an explosive, wonderful thing to do.
Yeah.
All right. But anytime you sense communication is affected, stress factors are coming in, I'm not feeling you, you're not feeling me, then sex just becomes a duty and it's affected. All right. So there's a lot to discuss in that space in terms of timing, honor. It's one of the things for a couple that you can't delegate. Okay. You can delegate many things. And some of the things we've been telling couples is look for delegatable stuff within the two of you, and then look for things that you can't delegate. Domestics are delegatable. All right? So delegate domestics. By the way, someone can cook for you, to be honest. Probably better than both of you can cook.
For sure.
Like if you enjoy sushi, if whatever you enjoy, someone can do it better than you're doing it. It's delegatable. In a marriage context, you can't delegate lovemaking. There's no day I'll call my buddy and say, bro, man, I'm so busy. You come hold fort for me.
Home.
Like even my wife can't delegate, you know. This is one of that thing that is purely your primary responsibility.
Yeah.
It's a non-delegatable thing, and because it's non-delegatable, it means it's important. All right. So go back and check your history. Check your biases about sex. Check your and sex encounters and escapades before. Talk about those things even before you get married. All right. This is what I view this to be. This is what I heard about this. This is my experience on this matter before. Now that we're together, what are we building around this matter? Talk about who should initiate.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it the woman? Is it the man? All right. Talk about things to do with things like sex drive. What affects that? All right. Stress levels and all those. Talk about, by the way, that, do you know what that is hinged on? Your ability to communicate openly.
And once you hack the communication bit, and I think you need to do this as early as you start dating.
Yeah.
Ask hard questions. Ask hard questions. I'm giving you permission to ask hard questions. Body count. When you're still dating. What type of things were you doing? Where? How? Because I've seen we've cancelled so many couples, so many. And now in marriage, now they're coming to say, he's telling me to try this. I don't want to do it. And I'm like, had he ever mentioned that before? So it's a fantasy maybe he has. Talk about fantasies, fetishes. Because we are in this world, even if you're believers, there's maybe something you were exposed to some time back and it's stuck in your head.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that just your mind goes there all the time. Talk about sex toys. Are we bringing them? Are we not? What does God think about those things? Are we, there's so much when it comes to sex. But the bottom line for me has just been communication. Communication. Because you could be used to one thing, you're like, hey, it's no longer building me anymore. Talk about it. Tell the man, let's try this. Or tell the woman, let's try this. Yeah. Or dress like this. Or smell like this. Recently, we were at a couples retreat. And the person who was doing the presentation went down to plugging us. You can get this oil in this shop. Like, let me tell you. ni kusaidiana, because it gets there.
Yeah.
And your husband can openly tell you, but I don't like that nini you wear. That pajama, like, it's not working for me anymore. And that guy had a picture of pajamas, and he was saying anything that cannot be removed by.
Anything you can't remove with your tongue is
Don't wear it to
don't wear
bed.
it to bed.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, okay, I love this advice, but it's for married people.
Yes.
For single people, why do you feel like God designed sex for marriage only? Like, why marriage only? What are the consequences of having it outside of marriage? Why should we wait?
Yeah, so there are spiritual ramifications for sex. I'm sure you've heard about soul ties.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've heard about even when people talk about body count and all. So if you're single and this is why you need to either go through therapy before, just to figure out what's my bias towards this thing. Okay, I've met people who said, for me, sex was rewarding someone for being good to me. So to them, anytime someone is good to them, they're like, ding, 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 this is the time. Like, it's how they've been conditioned. Okay, so they're like, this is why sometimes you'll find, maybe, let me use a lady in this example, finds a guy who is so kind and so good and is handling things and is like, me, the way I know how to respond to this is to give myself to you. Okay. And the moment the guy stops being nice or is not able to buy the things again, her mind tells her, deny. So figure out what your biases are. By the way, go back and figure out was when did you lose your virginity? What were the circumstances? Are you addicted to this thing?
Were you abused?
Were you abused? Because now when you bring the issues of soul ties, the reason why the Bible says, Genesis 2:24, and for this reason a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave unto his wife, and the two shall become one.
Yeah.
Okay? The thing that makes the two one is the act of, what do they call it? Consummation. That is the cement. Okay? That there's discussion in theology and in churches where, at what point is a couple married?
Yeah.
And they've gone down to say the point at which heaven registers that you've become one is when there's consummation.
So you can imagine if you've had multiple people, how many people you've.
So there, so sometimes on earth it looks fun, it looks nice,
It's so in
test
right
test
now.
drive the car. How am I buying a car if I don't do a test drive? Sounds good.
Also, women are not cars.
Women are not cars, all right? But then again, remember, are you living life of opinions? Okay? Because if you're living from opinions, then you'll be like, oh, okay, I'm probably a G-Wagon. I don't mind, so figure out what you stand for, all right? Because this thing about soul ties, people who've had sexual encounters, when they meet, even if it's years later, there's something you feel it. You're like, you can't explain it, but that shows you how spiritual and how your souls were tied.
Yeah.
If there's an act that removes, what do you call it? Removes filters, removes shields, your guards are down. There's nothing that brings your guards down than the act of getting intimate. Like there you're naked.
Unashamed.
Well, you could be ashamed, but everything is out. You're both,
As a husband and wife, you're ashamed.
No, husband and wife, it's naked and unashamed. But you could be,
okay, yeah.
So is that meant to be for everyone?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think it's meant the same way in companies, in groups, in places, in homes. We all don't have access to people's bedrooms. Yeah. Like there's a place in people's houses we can't go. Why? Because it's viewed as there's a sanctity for that space.
And the Bible says, keep the marriage bed holy. And there's something, and maybe it's not even the physical bed. I think it just means the union, the sex, holy. And this muscle for sexual purity, it's not just in dating, even in marriage. Yeah, because it's not like if you've allowed your mind for years to stray and go places and you try, it doesn't stop immediately you say I do. Your spouse could be there, but you're thinking about another person. You could literally be having sex and you're thinking about another person. So it's something that you build and work on with over time, with experts, with prayer, things that you need to break, for people who struggle with that. But sexual purity even goes in marriage, is even multiplied.
Yeah.
Boundaries and all.
Many people I've met, okay, Christians, well-meaning people, they were dating and they couldn't keep their hands away from each other, like constantly engaged, became intimate many times. And when you sit down to ask them, you're like, oh, he's too handsome, or she's too beautiful, I don't know what to do, or he's too much, the fire is too much. I agree, but one of the reasons why you need to refrain from that is it builds self-control. Okay, by the way, that's one of the major reasons why we tell singles don't. It's meant to enhance your ability to self-regulate. All right. So I've seen people who don't self-regulate, and they actually get married, the two of them. They also don't self-regulate in marriage.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and you know what they are doing now? Now they are not doing it with each other.
They're doing it with other
now
people.
We're doing it with other
It's
people.
like an open.
And you try to trace where that came from. It's because when they were together, they couldn't self-regulate. They were like, no, but I have a promise ring. Well, that's good, like it's fine. But self-regulate. As a single person, self-regulate. And these are some of the things I believe God gave us as tests to self-regulate, because they build something in you and a capacity in you that even after you get married, it helps you self-regulate. Okay? I love my wife. My wife loves me. I'm not the only man, but she's self-regulated. I've self-regulated. All right? Otherwise, we'll be having conversations around, like this movie we watched yesterday. The movie was bad. I love you. I'm here for you, but can we have an open relationship? And they're like, and the guy's the one who was asking for the open relationship. So when the girl turned to him and said, even me, I want an open relationship, the guy was like, so I don't satisfy you. She was like, you also have other people, So this single, by the way, I've never met anyone. I'm a pastor. I do pastoral visits in hospitals. I've never met anyone in the hospital sick because of not having sex. No one is admitted with a drip. They're like, I'm about to explode, guys. Like, manze, if this thing does not happen, I'll die. Like, I've never met anyone. No one is on any medication because of a prolonged period of not having sex. Okay, so it's possible. Self-regulate, and if it has happened, no problem. There's still another opportunity to begin self-regulation.
And I think it gives you are able to look at things clearly. Once you've slept with someone, like there are so many things involved. As women, there's emotions, there's so much involved. You keep thinking about his gadgets. You're like as in there's so much involved. So that's why I say, for your mind to be clear, let's abstain, like until and it's also scriptural. Again, back to the blueprint. And there's a reason why God said that, because he knows what can happen. And I know these people who start allowing, I've seen Christian couples, you start allowing such thoughts. You start allowing, okay, I can have coffees with so-and-so. You start allowing that, you're okay. You start making the boundary really slim. And then now you're saying, okay, sir, you can introduce sex toys. Okay, self-pleasure in marriage. Okay, all these other things. Before you know it, the fire Peter was saying, like, you cannot contain that fire, because now you've allowed all these things, all these parties. There's a reason why God gave us what he gave us. The man and the woman, evil too, and you're able to completely satisfy each other without all these things that the world has told us we need. We do not need none of that stuff. Of course, unless there's a medical issue, That's understandable. There are people with disability, they need some things.
Yeah.
That's understandable. But if you're two whole people in a marriage setting, you can completely satisfy each other without all this other drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think just to as now we close for real. As we close for real, I saw a quote that I really love by Called Out Music. He's an artist, and he just posted on his Instagram randomly. And he said, as Christians, we don't live in bondage, we live with boundaries. And I think God creates boundaries for a reason.
Yeah.
And then the world comes and tells us, oh, your boundaries are boring, and
It's so lame.
yeah, they're so lame and all of these things. But God is an intentional God, and he knows a lot more than we can ever fathom. Like, his ways are not our ways. So for him to have created things within certain boundaries, it's because he knows the purpose that boundary is supposed to serve. So I feel like I got tired of fighting the boundaries that God has created for me. And I was just like, okay, God, sawa, ulisema sawa. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe in my carnal, mind, I can't understand and I can't know, but I trust that because you are God and because you are sovereign, that you know even why you created those things in those boundaries. So at the end of the episodes, we ask our guests to share their best kept secret about the thing we've been speaking about. So maybe you can tell us, in terms of marriage, dating, sex, like, what would you say your best kept secret is?
Oh my God,
I just love Julie straight.
Because he knows he's like blank. My best kept secret.
Like the thing that has really worked for you. Like, this is something you want everyone to know.
I think there's this notion, my best kept secret is marriage is so beautiful. A monogamous marriage. Yeah. The godly way, it is so beautiful. Marriage is super enjoyable. And I say this with all humility. It's nothing that I've done or anything that Pierre has done. It's just, I think, the hand of God. We've enjoyed every day of our marriage for the last 10 years. And I think in a culture that has made marriage look like prison, marriage look like bondage, marriage look like it's for people who don't have plans with their lives, it's God's plan. And it's beautiful. Like, just doing life with someone that you completely adore, someone that you really love, someone that you have purpose, you know where you're going together, you know what you're building together, and you have Jesus as your center. Marriage is so beautiful. It's not a secret, but I think the world has really shunned it and beaten it down so much. Yeah, me, I enjoy it. I really love being married.
Yeah. I love that.
I think my best years have been my marriage years.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. My mom is like you, and when my friends are getting married, she's always telling me to tell them to come and talk to me. So I tell them that marriage is actually great, because the world is telling you that, oh, marriage sucks and it's hell and it's all of these things. And she's been with my dad for over 25 years, and she's very happy. They're both very content and they are really enjoying it. So I think for me, maybe I am in the same mindset as you, because I have seen marriage being great. I have seen marriage being enjoyable, but I understand why the world tries to make it look like it's not, because the enemy doesn't want us to get married.
For sure.
He wants us to not continue our bloodlines. He doesn't want us to have children. He doesn't want us to do all of these things. So I love that you keep preaching that. And even when you post it and say it on your Instagram, I love, me personally, as a single person, I love to see that. I love to see good examples of people making marriage work. Of course, everyone has their issues. You've had your struggles, but it's good to see it working.
Yeah, and we always have to be careful when the world starts calling good bad and starts calling bad good, because that's happening quite a lot. And like my wife said, demonize marriage and make it look bad, and then on this other end make certain practices look good, and let's all be accepted, and let's summarize that and call it inclusivity. So we need to be very careful. This is why for this time and age, stickiness to truth, throwing yourself to God as much as possible is quite important, because It'll be the difference between, you joining a sect or a cult, or you remaining in God. But my best kept secret for this is that singlehood is not a disease, and marriage is not a reward. Both of them are assignments. Singlehood is an assignment. Marriage is an assignment. Figure out what God wants to do in both stages.
That's like mic drop.
I know, right?
Mic drop.
Amazing.
I love that so much. I've been shouting it from the rooftops. Guys, being single is not a disease. It's not a burden. It's not like, there's so much beauty in it when you understand the assignment that God has placed in you as a single person. So I love that you have mentioned that, and I think that's such an amazing way to close this conversation. So thank you both so much for coming.
Thank you for the honor.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, your insights for the last 17 years. And I'm also I'm very honored that you guys came and that you were able to share. Thank you so much.
The honor is ours. Thank you.
And thank you guys so much for watching or listening. If you're listening to us on our audio platforms, you will see us or hear us in our next episode. Bye.